feel very privileged to be part of this conversation as a French scholar. Being a part of this international conversation is quite exciting. And as the director of IFAS Research, it's also a great way for me to try and make what we do at IFAS Research coherent with where we are in the world, inscribe it in the reflections and the research that are happening in Johannesburg.
That we got in yesterday, we were seated at this really intimate space, which I think is everything here feels intentional, and the space is lovely. It allows for such meaningful, honest conversation, and we're grateful enough to be exposed to such beautiful modes of art and different forms of expression. And so yesterday, and for I guess the majority of this experience, we're being exposed to a lot of films and documentaries.
Je reçois réprimande et blâme pour tout et pour rien. Il m'est impossible d'émettre des idées. Je remarque que pour même ce qui concerne les plantes, la probité des gens de ma race semble toujours mise en doute.
We were completely immersed into thinking quite deeply about the history of racism, slavery, colonialism, and how that's panned out, and also how we've come to terms with it, but not actually. And so the idea of thinking differently, new conversations, unfinished conversations, was just ever present in every single aspect of yesterday's conversation. And it was exhausting in a way, but in the best way possible, because it makes you think really deeply about how to engage with these topics. But also at the same time as it being exhausting, it was also incredibly hopeful.
I'm thinking about the video that we had playing yesterday. There was a video reflecting on violence and crying, and was playing in the background while we were talking. And I don't know, it felt like it was punctuating the discussions that we were having, because in the morning it was kind of like everyone was disturbed by it, because it was like a woman crying in the room and nobody knew that it was a video. But as time went by, everyone got used to it. You know, it kind of like marked our time and our engagement. And I couldn't help thinking about that in relation to what is happening in Palestine right now, that actually we've gotten used to those cries as well. We've gotten used to that violence. We navigate our lives around it. Yeah, it felt like that. It felt like eventually you get used to violence. And that is something that is very, very interesting, because it's not just getting used to it and actually losing empathy, but it's also indirectly giving consent to the people like Israel. Like, you indirectly gave consent, and it's such a fascinating way to think about living in a time of a genocide and living in a time of violence like this.
أنا اللي ما بحبك بروح باجي على تراكتور رايح جاي. أحراش عملوه مشان يخبوا البلد إنه فيش بلد هون. لكن في صبر ببين إنه في بلد هون.
It's not a Palestinian history, as if we would say that the Shoah is a Jewish history. It's also German history, it's European history, it's a human history also, the history of humanity also. And for us as Israelis, the Nakba is our history too.
To challenge the way things are is always difficult. Yet many people in Palestine, Israel, the diasporas, live the courage to reclaim another future. They refuse to abide by actions committed in their name, in our name, in my name.
My experience with this program for the past couple of days has been really, really enlightening. Like, I've learned so much, and I've been very privileged to be able to be in a space with so many senior academics who are really, really great at engaging with these topics. I also think collective thinking is always significantly more fulfilling than individual work, and as scholars we often are placed within silos, and so spaces like this are always really great to come in and have these discussions. I also love that it's not really set up as a conference in the very strict academic way, but rather we're watching film and, and we're engaging with that, which is really, really important in terms of an alternative way of storytelling that exists outside of how we usually do things in the social sciences.
I suppose what sort of finds me in this particular gathering is the work that I do on the Black Archive project at the University of Johannesburg. I think for me what stands out from the conversation is a comment that Tony made, which I actually want to contest and reject, right? Which is the notion that the reason for black and brown body erasures is as a result of the colonial project, racial capitalism, and I think my rejection is not predicated on so much a ideological positioning, but it rather sort of stems from the claim that if we accept that, because I suppose the question that I posed to the room, which was to say, why are we so erasable, why are we so illegible, invites the room to think more deeply about ways of scripting new forms of humanity. So when we say that we are illegible and erasable as a result of colonial and racial capital, I think it declares foreclosures to the possibilities of new imaginaries. And I suppose this is the reason why I want to reject the claim and to contest the claim, to say, what does it mean for us to imagine radically new possibilities that are not already prescripted by history? What would that future look like? Is it even a future that is thinkable? And this is partially the work that we're doing, for example, with the Black Archive project, as I said, that I lead at UJ, which is trying to reimagine the disciplines of the arts, humanities, and social sciences from an African location, such that Africa could begin to purpose, not to reinvent the disciplines, but to purpose the disciplines and knowledge for Africa's development. So I'm sitting with that as I walk out of today's considerations. Yeah.
بس هذول خلالك إياه يرحم أهله. أخته خلص أكبر أعطاهم بأخته خلاص حرام أخته ما هي زي من بلادي بعيد يا حرام.
אתם עומדים לי על מה שנכנס לי למעיים, אני והילדים שלי, ואת אומרת לקראתי. איפה לקראתי?
יש חוק במדינה. אתה נמצא פה בבית משפט.
אבל זה חרא של חוק. לאסור מאיתנו ללכת ליערות לאסוף אוכל.
לא, אני רואה שאין מה לדבר איתך.
צמח מוגן. איזה צמח מוגן? האדמה לא שלכם. גם הצמח הוא לא שלכם, מה שצומח באדמה. איזה צמח מוגן, איזה בטיח.
This convening is, for me, an opportunity to connect with intellectuals, with artists, with thinkers, with makers, to invent together the possibility to make hope in the world, make hope as a verb, as a doing word, as something done jointly and together, co-created, and in relationship. We have to wake up every day and decide to make hope together, and through that, in small ways, in everyday ways, change the world and reclaim the possibility for life, for ourselves, for one another, and for all beings.